Hi. My name is Brandon Scoggins. I'm going to show some Python code that I've been working on today. The purpose of it is to be able to continuously record audio segments, then provide recognition or speech recognition and sentiment analysis of those using the Google Speech API and the Natural Language Toolkit NLTK Vader Sentiment Analyzer. The purpose of this is like most speech recognition. It has like a pause or a speak then wait setup where you speak for a bit, it stops listening to recognize, and then it'll give you output, and then you can speak again. I'm trying to address that, hopefully. That way you can get continuous sentiment analysis of your speech or of some speech that you're watching, so you can have a semi-real-time feedback without having to interrupt the flow of speech. So to do that, we're going to use some threading in some Python code. This is going to allow us to record a 10-second audio clip, begin another thread which records, which will begin the recording of another 10-second audio clip, and while that second audio recording is happening in our previous thread, the speech recognition will be taking place in the sentiment analysis. I use 10 seconds because that provides sufficient time for the speech to be recognized and for the sentiment to be analyzed of that speech. So I'm going to start off by showing you a little bit of the code that I worked on. I've got it pulled up here. Looks good. So here we import threading, speech recognition, and Vader from the sentiment library of NLTK. We define a recorder class, which will be a thread type class. We'll be passing it a microphone, a recognizer, and an instance. The instance is just a variable that's extracted the count of recordings that we've done so far. Whenever we run this class, it's going to start by creating the next instance of itself, so the next recorder. It's going to do its own recording, and here we have a recognizer.record from the source, which will be the microphone that we passed this, for 10 seconds. Then immediately after that 10 seconds is recording is finished, we start the next thread, which will create a thread and then also start that recording. So that's the only delay in between audio samples that we have, is the amount of time it takes for Python to execute the start of a thread. So it should be very minimal. Then it tells us that it has captured the audio for that instance. It attempts to recognize it using Google speech recognition. And then if it does successfully recognize it, it will give us a sentiment analysis of the recognition. It's going to update a global variable called compound total, which is just a running sum of the total. Then it's going to print out the total divided by the instance, so that should provide an average calculation. It has some exceptions, so if it did not understand what was said, it'll say didn't catch that. If you were disconnected from the internet and you're not able to access the Google Cloud, it'll tell you that you're disconnected. So whenever we call main, it's going to initialize a recognizer and a microphone. It's going to do a ambient noise calculation. It's going to define a threshold for that. And then I've added a line that accepts an input, and this will essentially pause the program after the threshold calculation so that we can begin recording when desired. Then it will create the first thread and start the thread, and then it'll cascade from there. So I'm going to run this now. I'm going to give a moment of silence while I open up a book. So to test this, I've got a copy of Lord of the Rings here. I'm going to flip to a random page and read a couple paragraphs to get a few 10-second samples of audio, hopefully somewhat continuously, and we can then go back and see how successful the audio recording was. So I'm going to begin that now. Alright, as we can see here, it's done the moment of silence calculation, and it's set a minimum threshold, and now it's awaiting input. I'm going to find a random page here. Okay, page 77 has a nice little poem on it. We're going to read that. I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to immediately begin reading from the book. Okay. Upon the hearth the fire is red, beneath the roof there is a bed, but not yet weary are our feet. Still around the corner we may meet a sudden tree or standing stone that none have seen but we alone. Tree and flower and leaf and grass, let them pass, let them pass. Hill and water under sky, pass them by, pass them by. Still round the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate, and though we may pass them by today, tomorrow we may come this way, and take the hidden paths that run towards the moon or to the sun. Apple, thorn, and nut and slow, let them go, let them go. Sand and stone and pool and dwell, fare you well, fare you well. Okay, that was a nice little poem. I'm going to force stop this execution by restarting the shell. There we go. One fault of the code is I've not been able to implement a way to kill the thread, so I have to restart the shell every time. That's okay. So go back, we see where recording 1 began, and it says that it captured it, and the recording 2 begins before we ever see the recognized data, so we can tell these are overlapping successfully. Let me flip back to the poem here, and we can verify how well this recorded. See, the compound of this first segment looks rather negative. I'm not sure why that would be, probably because our feet are weary. Yep. Let's see. Upon the hearth the fire is red, good. Beneath the roof there is a bed, but not yet weary are our feet. Okay, it took weary, or we are, so it's not perfect. Around the corner we've been. Around the corner we may yet. Okay, that's not accurate. A sudden tree. But it looks like where it made the mistake, it was able to continuously record the audio. So even though it didn't capture what the word was and the recognition, the audio recording was still present. So it looks like it was successful. And the compound throughout this whole recording tends to be a little on the negative side. Could be a tragic poem, I suppose, trying to free someone. Yeah, but that's this at work. Hopefully I'll continue working on this and implement it into a desktop app or mobile app in the future. So, thank you.